Are you tired of feeling sluggish, crashing day, or loading up on sugary energy drinks that just don't cut it? W is here to change that. It's a clean energy drink formulated to give you focus, clarity, and long lasting energy without the jitters or crash. No sugar, no artificial dyes, just results. Whether you're grinding through a workout, editing content, or pulling an all nighter for the big game, W's got your back. And guess what? As a listener of this podcast, you get 10% off your order when you use code West Coast at checkout. That's WESTCOAST, all one word, for 10% off at www.dubby.gg. Fuel up the smart way with W.
Snaps it anyway. Greer lobs it in the air. Oh, what a catch, Gary Jennings! Touchdown, West Virginia! Is his foot down? It is Eludley.
Welcome to the West Coast WVU podcast, part of the 224 Podcast Network. My name is James Brooks. I'm your host. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. Today, as I've been saying for the last few weeks, will probably be a pretty quick episode. There's not a ton of news going around WVU athletics, but there are a few things that we can touch on. First and foremost, I know everyone's really excited for football season to be right around the corner. We're almost at the end of July. The beginning of August is coming up. End of August is our first game against Robert Morris on August 30th. So we are inching closer and closer. And as more news comes out about the football team and stuff, we'll be talking about it on this podcast. So definitely stay tuned for future episodes. I don't really have any football topics that I can think of right now to be discussing. Just the general questions on who's going to be the starting quarterback, how's the team going to look, the roster turnover, all those types of things. Questions are up in the air that we just won't really know until week one, until we get to the football season. So definitely looking forward to the start of the season and everything about that. But definitely stay tuned to future episodes where we'll be talking more football as we get closer to the season. I'll definitely be doing a prediction podcast where I talk about my predictions for West Virginia this season and how I do think we'll be doing. I've touched on it a little bit on past episodes, but I'm going to do a little homework and do a little deep dive there. So other than that, the big news that has come out this week is a follow-up to something that we talked about in a previous episode, which is Wren Baker and the Oklahoma athletic director job. Now, I was on my whatever episode it was talking about it, where just saying that there's no actual ties, there's no real anything that's being talked about with Wren Baker and the Oklahoma athletic director position is really just rumors at this point. There's no concrete evidence that he is a top candidate or even a candidate to begin with. And this week, he kind of squashed those rumors. So pulling it up on X right now. I pulled this from WVSports.com on X, and they say Wren Baker shuts down Oklahoma rumors, says he's never taken an interview elsewhere, and that his family is very, very happy. He said, quote, "We love living here. It's a great place to live. I love the outdoors. More importantly, I have a wife and 2 daughters, and they're very happy here." So pretty much just squash those rumors right there that he is not looking for or planning to interview or apply for that Oklahoma athletic director position, which is really awesome to see some just true loyalty from the athletic director to West Virginia, a guy that is not a local. You know, a lot of people talk about head coaches for the football team or the basketball team. They got to be West Virginia guys. They don't understand how important and how special West Virginia is, people that aren't from West Virginia. And I do see some truth to that. I do get where people are coming from, but as someone that's myself not from West Virginia, I don't think that's totally true. I do think that people can come in, and people do come in, and they learn to love the state and they want to support the state. You know, as a guy, for me, as a guy from California who I have ties through family and stuff, and I myself did my master's at West Virginia now, but before that, I didn't have any ties to the state. I've through those connections and through my visits to the state and visits to the university and all that stuff, I've learned to really appreciate what the state has to offer and those types of things. So the things that he says totally make sense to me. And then, you got to think, like, he is a family man. He's got a family. He has to think about that. And I think we're so used to in sports, we get desensitized to just people doing what's best for them from a career standpoint and not as much from a family standpoint. I think as a LA guy, as a Lakers fan, I've seen that with like LeBron and the Lakers kind of. I mean, I know going to the Lakers was a strategic move for him, not just family wise, but career wise as well outside of basketball. I think there were plenty of teams he could have gone to that weren't the Lakers that might have been a better fit for him. I mean, as a Lakers fan, I was happy that he came, but he decided to come to LA partially for his family, for Bronny and Bryce and his kids from a school standpoint. And he's decided to stay. There's been a lot of rumors of him wanting to leave or being traded and all these different things. And he's decided, at least thus far, has decided to stay from a family standpoint. It kind of makes sense at this late in his career that he wouldn't try and do another big move or anything like that. So maybe not the best comparison, but I do think that we got to take into account for people like Wren Baker and stuff that, the family thing does have to be taken into consideration. And it makes sense that he doesn't want to uproot his family. They've planted some roots down there. His kids are at an age where, moving around isn't super easy. So super good news in that sense that Wren Baker seemed to be squashing all those rumors of the Oklahoma position, which with how he's done, the positive nature of what he's done at West Virginia. It's like what we talked about. He's from Oklahoma. He's done well so far at West Virginia. Why wouldn't he be a candidate for Oklahoma unless he just truly wanted to be at West Virginia? And taking him at his word, it sounds like he wants to be at West Virginia, which is really cool to see. And I love to see that. Hopefully he'll be around for, at least a few more years or whatever the turnaround time typically is for athletic directors. But really cool to see Wren Baker sticking around for the Mountaineers and kind of, putting the money where his mouth is, like walking the walk and all that kind of stuff, whatever insert you're saying there. But like he talks all the time. And I mentioned this in the previous episode when I was talking about just people talking about him leaving or him potentially being a candidate for Oklahoma. And I mentioned this, like he talks all the time about how much he loves West Virginia, how much he wants to give back to the state, how he's traveling everywhere. And I've only been to a handful of places in West Virginia myself, but from what I've heard, like it sounds like he's gone to some places that like not a whole lot of people go to. He's really getting out there and visiting the state and all that stuff. So I think he is walking the walk and all that stuff and backing up the things he said and his actions thus far, that he seems to want to stay in West Virginia, which is really cool. I'm going to take a quick break and we'll talk about Best Virginia. All right, welcome back. So I'm not sure if you guys are aware of TBT, which stands for the basketball tournament. It's basically, I don't know, how do I even describe it? It's just a high stake basketball tournament. There's a $1 million winner take all award for whoever is the champion, which is actually pretty crazy. I didn't even know that the award was that big. But basically, it's a basketball tournament where I think anyone can technically enter. You just have to have a team and have the funding and all that stuff to do it. And so a lot of basically like college basketball players will join together representing their alma mater. So in this case, from a West Virginia standpoint, we have the team Best Virginia, which is led by a handful of WVU alumni. John Flowers being, I think, the most notable one. Like he's the one that, maybe he's not the most notable from a playing standpoint, but he's the one that I always see as kind of like the leader of the Best Virginia squad, which is at least what I'm seeing from the outside looking in. And they've been doing it for a handful of years now. And I think the last tournament, or maybe even the last two tournaments, they lost to Marshall's alumni team, which is kind of sad. But so far this tournament, West Virginia, or Best Virginia, I should say, has advanced to the quarterfinals in the tournament. So we are in the top, I think it's the top 8, like the Elite 8 of the tournament, the 3rd seed in the tournament. It's hard because I don't know exactly all the players on these teams, but you have the teams in the tournament. There's a team called Heartfire, which, it doesn't say, I don't know who that is. There's Aftershocks, which is the Wichita State alumni team. There's Shell Shock, which is the Maryland alumni team. And then Best Virginia, which is the West Virginia alumni team. And then you got We Are D3, which I assume is just like a squad made up of a bunch of D3 players. Fail Harder, Eberline Drive, Sideline Cancer. So yeah, those teams I don't really know anything about. The ones that aren't tied to a school, but you have three specific alumni teams in the quarterfinals between Aftershocks, Shell Shock, and Best Virginia. Marshall was in the tournament as well. They did not make the quarterfinals. Some other teams, there's Texas had an alumni team that was in there. I'm sure there are others too that I just don't know off the top of my head. But quarterfinals take place July 27th through 28th, and this is just like a fun way to support West Virginia when you're kind of at this point like you're dying for college sports. There's baseball's been done for a little while. We still have a month or so until football season starts. Basketball season still, it's quite some time until that starts up. So for those of you who are just kind of like wanting to support West Virginia from a sports standpoint, definitely tune in to those quarterfinals on between July 27th and 28th. And then if West Virginia were, so right now we go, so in the quarterfinals, we're going up against Shell Shock. So we got a nice little Big East rivalry action between West Virginia and Maryland alumni. And then, so if we win that, then we play either Everline Drive or Sideline Cancer. So we'll see who if we can pull it out, make the semifinals, which is on July 31st, and then the championship, which is played on Fox on August 3rd at 4 p.m. Eastern. So definitely just like a fun way to root for West Virginia. They have a whole regional in Charleston, West Virginia, which is where West Virginia was playing before making it to the quarterfinals. So pretty cool there to be representing West Virginia, playing well in West Virginia, in Charleston, having that home court crowd. I know we have Marshall is also there too, but pretty cool for West Virginia to make it to the quarterfinals there. And again, it's just a fun thing, just fun to root for West Virginia alumni and see how well we can do against other schools and other basketball players and whatnot, and maybe win $1 million. So pretty cool there. I mean, that's a bigger prize than Love Island. Love Island, they win like $100,000. $1 million is pretty crazy. So shout out to Best Virginia for making the quarterfinals in the basketball tournament. And we'll tune in on July 27th and 28th to see how they fare against Shell Shock, Maryland's alumni squad. That's really all I have for you. I know this is a super short episode, and most of my episodes are like 20 to 30 minutes. This one I'm sitting at right about 15. So actually, this is the first time where I've said we're going to have a quick episode, and it actually is a quick episode. The one last thing I want to talk about here is I'm still trying to see if there's anyone that wants to join the podcast, just to share your fandom of West Virginia, your love of the state of West Virginia. I want to highlight you all. I want to highlight the great people of West Virginia that make up, whether it's you're a West Virginian, you're an alumni of West Virginia, whether you currently live in West Virginia or not. Just want to talk, we just want to highlight you all, highlight the great state of West Virginia and WVU leading into football season. So I'm going to, I tweeted out a what do they call it, like a Google form for people to fill out if they're interested. I'll put it back out on X. I'll put it into my link tree, so it'll be on all the bios and stuff, and I'll share it on all the various social media. I threw it out on X as kind of like a soft launch to see if anyone would respond, but nobody did. So I'm going to throw it out there. I'll mention it on TikTok and Instagram and all those places. You'll be able to find it in the link tree for this podcast in my bio. So that's all I got for you. Thank you all for listening, and go Mountaineers. Hey, you made it to the end. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, go ahead and leave a 5-star rating and share it with your friends. And as always, go Mountaineers.